Hello, everybody. This is Morten from Inkish. I have the fantastic pleasure and honor of welcoming my good friend Mark here on Inkish. So, welcome, Mark.
Thanks, Morten. I'm excited about the opportunity to talk to you about something I've been working on for a long time, and it's a bit of fun, but it's educational too.
Fantastic. And I can't help think about it because the first thing you said before we turned on the recording, you said, I tricked you into my trap. And that was because we spoke about, or actually there was a post on LinkedIn a few days ago where I said that the first inkjet, that was actually in the interview with Matt Brooks.
Yeah,
And we spoke about that the inkjet technology was first presented in, I think I said 53, but I can see on your screen that you say 51. And it
close
is
enough.
fun. Yeah, and it's also a funny story because as far as I know, and I have not done as much research as you, but actually both HP and Canon independently invented two types of inkjet technology simultaneously and presented these at Drupa in 53.
Mm.
So how much am I right and how much am I wrong? Let's get into this. I'm excited
Okay,
about
okay. You're not wrong. It was probably the first time where people looked at inkjet in this way, but I think there's previous evidence earlier. And yeah, 1951, 1953, whatever. The common story, and I cannot track this story down. And if anyone has actual real evidence, I'd love to see it. This guy, Ichiro Endo, who worked for Canon, was involved in the presentation in 1953. And he was an engineer at Canon. And the story that is apocryphal, and I can't find evidence for it, is that he was soldering something, we don't know what, and he left his soldering iron on the bench and he put his fountain pen on top.
it.
And the
Oh,
fountain pen heated up and the ink inside expanded and the bubble jet was born. Okay, so bubble jet,
fantastic
thermal,
story.
the thermal inkjet and bubble jet, this is basically the same thing.
Mhm.
And yes, it's entirely, the case that they both HP and Canon independently, apparently,
Mhm.
came up with this at Drupa. But that's not the first time that inkjet was used. Now, a common misconception in my mind is this one. I'll show you this picture here
Oh
of
man,
Kelvin's electrostatic siphon. Have you seen this before?
no.
Okay, this has been quoted by different people as being the first occurrence of inkjet. And this was a method of recording data on transatlantic cables, so between the UK and the US, or at least between European waters and the US. And the idea here was, you can see a picture of the unit there. It worked. So how it works is you've got two magnets, you've got a coil, you've got a tube, and the tube is controlled by a wire. And as the vibration occurs because of the electrical charge going through the coil, then ink comes from the well and drips, for want of a better word, onto a tape and squiggles a line. Now, some people have said, and quite learned people, I won't mention any names, that was the first occurrence of inkjet. But to me, it's not a jet;
No.
it's a weak dribble.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to propose is our hero of inkjet is actually Jean-Antoine Nollet. Now, Jean-Antoine was a French priest, and he lived in France in the 1700s. And the great thing about this guy is it's not the only thing he did. He also discovered osmosis. So he's
Mm.
quite a well-known, and if you Google him, you'll find out he's a well-known scientist and has some good stature, as well as being a priest at the same time.
Mhm.
But one of his side projects. Great thing about being a priest is you've got unlimited access to monks, and you can make them
That's
do
true.
whatever you like. Okay. So what Jean-Antoine did was, and this picture here is an example of him and his friends recreating the big experiment that he did. The big experiment that he did was to take 200 monks and stand them round in a circle that apparently was nearly a kilometre long. I think possibly a little bit shorter than that. And in between each monk, they held a copper wire. So there was a big circle joined by a copper wire. But at the one point, he took the wire away and he handed them a Leyden jar. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Leyden jar, if you watch Frankenstein movies, is where you can collect electricity.
Mm-hmm.
And he put this, basically a battery,
Mm-hmm.
into the hands of one monk and another monk, and the circuit was completed. And what he said at the time in his journal was, it was singular to see the multitude of different gestures and hear the instantaneous exclamation of those surprised by the shock. So, not only did he like experiments, he didn't mind hurting people as well. So,
What a priest, right?
my kind of guy. So, then it led on to the big moment. This was 1745.
Mm-hmm.
By 1750, he'd progressed to this. He'd
Even a
got
new experiment involving monks, I can see,
a
right?
new experiment involving willing volunteers and pain. So he dangled a guy from the ceiling, and he put them basically one end on their foot onto a Van de Graaff generator to generate some
Ah,
electricity.
yeah.
And at the other end, he cut the finger of that person. You can see where this is going, can't you? And he said, a person electrified by a connection to a high voltage generator would not bleed normally if he were to cut himself. Blood would spray from the wound. So there it was. Magenta, the first
Magenta.
ink,
A
okay,
dark
was
magenta,
magenta.
even, I would say, right?
Yeah. And so this predates lithography, which was later in the 1700s in Germany. It
Mm-hmm.
predates flexography,
Mm-hmm.
which was about 100 years later, end of the 18th century in Liverpool. And it even predates Chester Carlson and xerography. So, inkjet was there just lying dormant, waiting for its moment to appear. And now, thanks to the guys in the 50s, they brought it back, they revived it.
Before you continue, Mark, I was just thinking, do you think that the 1750 electrospray became a commercial success, or was it more like on experimental basis?
I didn't say printing, I said inkjet. Yes, I don't think any practical use. I don't know. I mean, my question is, was it the increased heart rate of the guy from just being shocked that made it happen?
Yeah,
Or
that might
was
be
it the
so.
electrical impulse that made the walls of something like with piezo? It's the walls of the cell
Hmm.
flexing under the electrical impulse. Which was it?
Yeah.
Maybe a medical person could tell us.
The interesting thing when we talk about science, uh, I think that in modern times like today, I think that we too often forget about how ingenious people were actually also in the past, and how they were. I mean, when you see even that, I can't remember the name of it, but that kind of computer thing that they found in the Greek ocean of Socrates, where they still don't understand how it works, but apparently it was a very complex calculator for calculating the placement of sun, moon,
All right.
stars, which dates back, 300 BC or something like that, right?
Mm.
Um, and I think it's amazing to think of, because I think that we always think of ourselves as being, oh, we are so smart, we are so
Yeah,
modern, we are so much ahead of everybody, right? But
that's
the
it.
problems have always been that mankind is a little bit lazy, so we always try to find the right solution of getting things done as easy as possible,
Yeah.
even if we have to cut fingers on some experimental stages, right?
Yeah. I mean that's and the political and geopolitical situation. When you
Mm.
think back to the Romans came to the UK. They brought sophistication. They brought central heating, beautiful mosaic art, and
Yeah.
then a few years later, the Vikings came in and just destroyed everything. That's you guys almost, Morton. But
I
they
mean,
came in
we
and set everything back a number of years.
at least we kept Bath as a place to visit, right? So that is the Roman beauty of the hot waters and wells, and basically, so we didn't
Yeah,
destroy that.
you kept
Apparently the Vikings like that too, right?
yeah. But no,
But
it's interesting, isn't it? That
mm,
people say this is a new discovery, but
mm,
maybe it's a rediscovery
yeah,
of something already there.
that's a very funny story, and I think it's great. I can't help think about, while I have you here on Inkish, Mark, when your career in printing industry has been both on the printing side, and now with Fujifilm on the manufacturing and
Mm.
sales marketing side. I was just thinking that, because when you started, how long time ago is it that you started with Fujifilm?
Oh, to 1999.
Okay, so in these 26 years, it must be, yeah. I was
Mm.
just thinking, can you, I mean, just think about that when you entered the office the first time, right? And
Mm.
was thinking about, okay, in 25 years, I'm wondering if they have a 750, something like that, right? You would probably never have thought where technology has taken both
No,
Fujifilm, but also the entire industry, right?
yeah, because when I joined Fujifilm, my previous exposure to print had been mainly letterpress because I was a letterpress compositor back in the 70s. And then I had a little bit of exposure with a photographic company of wide format inkjet.
Mm-hmm.
So that was along. But when I came into Fujifilm, it was very much most things were litho.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd missed out litho. I'd taken a leap out of letterpress, went into the wilderness outside of print for a number of years, came back in through selling Apple Macintosh.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I came back into, related to the print industry, everything was offset. And I'd never operated a camera or done separations or retouched artwork,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had a lot of catching up to do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, should we do a wild guess? Where are we as an industry in 26 years from now?
It's going to be interesting, isn't it?
I mean, I guess
Yeah.
this. I mean, I don't know even if YouTube exists in 26 years, but in case that digital files, to some extent, can survive iterations, and
Mm.
people are thinking of this and maybe rewatching it with a big grin on their face. I was just thinking that because when we look at inkjet now and we talk about inkjet, okay, now it will be soon ready to replace offset and litho and
Mm. Mm.
everything, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about that. So should inkjet really be the end of development? Can't believe that, right?
Hopefully not.
Yeah,
No, I,
yeah.
I, I'd love to think there'd be, and I expect the unexpected.
I
Yeah,
have a friend that said to me, it must be something atomic. So, instead of
okay.
nanoparticles, we have atomic size
Subatomic.
particles. Yeah.
Yes.
Can you imagine that we have atomography, where that is the new thing?
Be careful. You'll start investing money in something you can't afford soon.
Yeah, but maybe it's time to start now because you apparently never know when things are ready for the market, right?
That's no. I mean, there's always the expectation that things will progress quicker than they do,
Mm,
but then there's always the fact that things come out of left field that you hadn't considered at all
mm.
that upset the apple cart.
Yeah,
So
true,
yeah,
true.
I think so. It's going to be a mugs game.
Mm.
Guessing anything more than next week.
Mm. Funny when you say that because I mean, now I asked you 26 years ago if you could foresee anything just within your own company, which you said no to.
Mm.
Obviously, you you were in a different position, young and unexperienced, and now you have got a lot of experience in the meanwhile. But now, when you think back, I mean, the first time you heard about, let's say, the 720 and let's
Mm.
say the inkjet journey that was, a Fujifilm with development of print heads and all this kind of thing. How long time ago is it that you first time within the Fujifilm environment start to hear, okay, this inkjet is something that we are investing in. This is something where we believe there's a good future for us.
Well, we were already there in the guise of Sericol, or we
Hmm.
were just about, in the early 2000s, we were just in the process of buying Sericol, who were making inkjet inks along with Inca making hardware
Hmm.
and with inkjet heads from Dymatics, which were called Spectre back then.
Yeah.
So all of that was happening. It was
Hmm.
in development. So inkjet was a wide format technology at that time. That's where
Hmm.
it was for us.
Hmm.
Although if we went over to Japan, we were in it with continuous feed inkjet, and that was happening in Japan, but not over here in Europe.
Hmm.
So it was always there. It was just a
So
matter of do we focus on it now?
yeah, so you knew, of course, about it also because I think you're a very curious person and of course always interested in learning. But I was also thinking that at some point in your career it starts to this is because I mean I've seen your fantastic print samples of your magazine where you have printed the same in both offset and digital just to
Hmm.
show people how high the qualities are and for people that always thought that digital was not as good quality as the digital. I guess that you have many times proved the opposite, right? Or at least
Yeah.
balance the expectations for people so they know what to expect from
Mhm.
from the presses. But I was just thinking there must be some point in time where you said that, now this is not experimental. It's for the grown-ups, so to speak, right?
Yeah, and I guess it was always a balance between the technological and the commercial.
Mm,
So while the technology was there and it looked fantastic, and for some work it was, totally practical,
mm,
for a lot of work you still, the economics of it said run it in the old analog way, or
mm,
the current, I won't call it old, I call it current
mm,
analog way, which is why, we're still a tiny proportion of the
mm,
volume of print that's printed.
mm,
We're a bigger proportion of the value of work that's printed.
mm,
So it's still developing. And
mm,
in some markets like packaging, everyone's focusing on packaging because of the longevity of it and the fact we'll always need it.
mm,
So we think. Um, so what will happen there? It's a slow take up, but it's moving. It's
mm,
moving. But
mm,
the economics is what governs it next.
mm. I remember because you and I obviously talked many times about this, and I have, when I talk to vendors that do inkjet presses, I almost always ask them, "Is now the time for replacing offset with inkjet?" And I remember several times you said no, it's complementary because basically the larger volumes where you don't need variable data, this is still for the offset presses. And then, but I mean, also if you look at Fujifilm, if you look at the new CFG 1160G, for example, right?
Mm.
SG, the
G
version with the yeah
1160 CFG.
precisely, yeah.
Yeah.
When you look at a machine like this, when I see the output of that, where you have like this simple, but as you spoke to me at Hunkler Innovation Days, the simple idea of actually taking out the relative humidity of paper before you start printing, so you have less humidity to take out of the printed paper. I think that is an seems to me like a genius idea that is so simple, as you also said yourself, that sometimes simple ideas
Yeah.
can be really effective. I mean, do you start to see that now it is maybe getting closer and closer to that?
It's getting closer and it's different for different people.
Mm. Oh
So
yeah,
depending on the
good
work
answer. Mm.
mix of a customer, you might say to some customers, yes, all of your work could be done this way.
Mm.
But for others, you might say it's going to be X percent. It's going to be
Mm.
10, 15, 20%. And then we have to do the sums to say, will it pay for itself in the time that, that you've got to run this machine based on the commitment you're prepared to make to
Mm.
volumes and so on and so on.
Mm.
So it's a bit of maths,
Mm.
but it's pretty straightforward, I think, for most customers to decide: do I pursue this,
Mm.
or is it not time yet?
Mm. Um, a question. I don't know if you will answer it or can answer it, but I was just wondering because we spoke about how long time ago it was that before you realized that okay, this, and you said that was kind of mixed because Fujifilm had like different strategies for the Japanese market, for example. But
Mm.
when you're in your position sit today, and I guess that you're very involved in the Fujifilm organization, and I'm not asking for any secrets, but I mean, how long ahead of you do you see now? I mean, are you one of the people that is seeing what can get to market in 2 years, 4 years, 8 years, or how is the organization? Because I mean,
Yeah.
I'm asking because I was curious about when we talk about there was the old time where you said that 2 per year was like the revelation of the new technologies, but I think that to some extent technology develops faster today,
Mm.
and then you have the big milestones that may take even longer time as well. So
Yeah.
how much do you know about the future without revealing anything?
I don't know very much.
Okay.
I've still in 26 years not been to Japan, so it's not like I'm flying over there every few months to get an
Just
update
what's
from
happening?
people.
Oh, I see.
Um,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can open doors that shouldn't be opened and ask
Mm.
questions.
Oh, I thought it was the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But I know there's some things around the corner, obviously,
Mm,
and
mm,
yeah, some of the time we need to talk to Japan and say, can you tell us more about this so we can decide if it should come to our market or not?
Okay.
Because not everything should.
Okay. So
Things
you
that
have
work in one region don't work in another.
okay. So you have in a large organization like Fujifilm products where you think, okay, this fits our market or this doesn't fit our market. Then you have a no say to that. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah, or we decide to release them earlier in some markets where we know there was a direct fit. And
Okay.
then maybe with some further development, or just at a later time, it's the right time to bring it to. There are some things. We've just introduced. I'm going to be very vague here. We just introduced some products in a certain part of the market, and we know already there's another machine in the wings. But
Okay.
let's let this one settle down first and see
Yeah.
where it fits
Yeah.
before we bring in something else that will confuse the market. Because sometimes choice is not a great thing. Just confuses everybody.
Can you be Santa Claus for a second? Because then I have a wish.
Okay, I can pass on your request.
750 duplex.
It's interesting, isn't it? If you look out there and say, okay, where can I buy a B2 inkjet press, water-based to this duplex that has the right commercial and performance characteristics that I need? It's a limited marketplace. The challenges around water-based inkjet, there's still a lot of development going on. And that's one of those things where you think, oh, I wish I had this now. Surely after, what have we been, 13 years, there's a way of producing something that will fit. But you've got to think about the commercial acceptability and the operability of it.
I
It's not
understand.
just about technology.
I understand that, Mark. But you know as well as I do that Canon is very far. We spoke about Canon in the beginning of this interview here. We spoke about. I mean, Canon obviously releases one. The Ricoh VC 80,000 is obviously. Oh, sorry, the Z75 is obviously also a cut sheet machine that can do this. And I would be surprised if we don't soon see something from HP as well. And I'm just like, you have maybe one of the most recognized and best quality B2 machines in the market, but you always have that question, right? I guess I'm not the first time that is on my knees. Please, Mark.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's a common request, but the guys in Japan don't want to compromise on that quality. And we've delivered a standard. We're calling, we still say it's the new standard in print. It's it's the highest quality production press you can buy. It's the only one that's got FOGRA certified proofing system approval, and we're loath to give up that position to make something that doesn't quite reach the standard.
I guess that the correct answer to this one would be say buy two, right?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Would that be nice? Yeah. Last question. I really like that you tricked me into this, and now I'm tricking you into one more thing here. Okay. I have a suggestion because I hear that everybody is now talking about AI. So if you can't find a solution for keeping the high quality of a 750 duplex, you just ask ChatGPT how to do that. I'm sure you will get some good answers.
You know what? When I was checking out these graphics, I thought I'll just check out any more info on Ichiro Endo. So I went to Google, which most of the time now uses AI to answer your questions, even on a standard Google webpage. And I put in Ichiro's name, and I put in Canon, and it came back with a picture I hadn't seen before of a quite distinguished-looking gentleman. Who had died in 2016, and it talked about him with his soldering iron and whatever. And I thought, I wonder where this picture's from. So I dug a bit deeper and found the picture. He's a retired colonel in the US Army. This picture, it's not the guy.
Okay.
Yeah. And I thought, yeah, okay, you can go down a lot of dead ends. AI does link a lot of things together because it doesn't like to believe that it can't answer your question. And so
And
we'll bring together things that sound pretty logical and put them together so you think it's almost like it's got a personality disorder.
okay, so ChatGPT didn't help me out on this one either.
No, I don't think I'd take it as gospel.
Mark, it has been fun as usual and fantastic talking to you. So thank you very much for your time. And always these kind of learning journeys, we need to have more of them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we should do some more. Maybe it's your turn next. You're
Okay.
you're a great researcher, Morten. You always dig right in there. So
I
maybe you can
try.
find some more on. Maybe you can find some more on this topic about inkjet.
Let's. Okay, I take up the challenge. I will come up with the next one. Maybe not on Inkjet, but next time I will find something that you and I talk about as well. That can be fun. All right.
Sounds great. All right.
See you, and thank you again for your time here on Inkish.
A pleasure. Thank you, Morten.